Hi, welcome to Lee on the Lectionary. Today we're looking at the readings for Epiphany in Year C. Those readings are Isaiah chapter 60 verses 1 to 6, Psalm 72, Ephesians 3 1 to 12 and Matthew 2 1 to 12. In Lectionary Year A, I commented particularly on the Gospel reading for Epiphany in the context of the Old Testament reading from Isaiah. In Year B, I focused on the Epistle reading from Ephesians. So today, this year, in Year C, I'd like to look at the psalm that is set for Epiphany. Psalm 72 is the end of Book 2 of the Psalms, which in a number of ways focuses on the insufficiency and the weakness of David as King of Israel. He is far from the ideal king seen in the introductory Psalm 2. He suffers opposition and personal struggles, e.g. Psalm 42. He's an adulterer and a murderer, Psalm 51, and is now fragile and old, as we see in Psalm 71. So it seems natural for Psalm 72 to be headed of Solomon, even though the final verse tells us it is one of the prayers of David, the son of Jesse. It is David looking ahead to a better king, a righteous royal son. And yet the king described in this psalm is not Solomon, David's immediate successor, but something far greater than Solomon. His reign will bring prosperity to all his people, firstly. It will spread over the whole earth, secondly, and it will last forever. That the reign of this royal son is an everlasting one can be seen in verse 5. People will fear and reverence him while the sun endures, as long as the moon, for all generations. The dying king, David, foresees an undying reign coming after him. In verse 17, he prays for his heir, echoing the blessing of Abraham in Genesis 12. May his name endure forever, his fame continue as long as the sun. May people be blessed in him, all nations call him blessed. But that this reign will not only be long in duration but broad in compass can be seen in verses 8 to 11. In Book 2 of the Psalms, David has been all over the place according to the titles of the Psalms, from the house of Ahimelech the Hittite in Psalm 52 to the Philistine city of Gath, Psalm 56, to fighting with Arameans and Edomites in Psalm 60. So David has been pondering his relationship to these raging, plotting nations around Israel. See Psalm 2 verses 1 and 2. And he wonders how that's going to work out after he's gone. He prays in verses 8 to 11 that his successor will have dominion from sea to sea and from the river to the ends of the earth. It won't just be Israelites bowing down before him, but desert tribes and foreign kings, while his enemies will lick the dust in abject surrender. We also see that he will be an all-conquering King of Kings. Tribute will be brought to his imperial majesty from other kings over land and sea. The kings of Tarshish, Sheba and Seba will visit, bringing tribute and gifts. The visit of the Queen of Sheba to Solomon was only a small picture of a greater fulfillment of this universal hope. It's easy to see, isn't it, how these three kings mentioned here in the psalm became identified with the wise men bringing three gifts to the baby Jesus, especially when verse 15 also indicates that gold from Sheba will be given to him. Presumably frankincense and myrrh would come from Tarshish and Seba. Well, the Magi were not kings, but only the start of this process. David prays, may all kings fall down before him, all nations serve him. And one day, the kings of the earth will bring all the glory and honor of the nations into the kingdom of the Lamb, where there is no need of sun or moon, according to Revelation 21. So he reigns forever and over all. And finally, the royal son with the righteousness of God will bring blessing to all his people. As Charles Spurgeon so wonderfully observed, it's so remarkable that in this psalm, which so fully celebrates the extent of his realm and the sovereignty of his government, there is so much attention drawn to the minuteness of his care for the lowly, his personal sympathy with the poor, and the large benefits they are to enjoy from his kingdom. Or this mighty king will judge fairly for the poor and needy who cry to him for deliverance, verses 2, 3 and 4, so that the righteous may flourish and peace abound, verse 7. There will be lots of them and lots of grain and fruit to feed them, verse 16. They will suffer no more oppression or violence, for God notes every drop of blood they spill, verses 12 to 14, and will redeem them by his own. Verse 15 urges us to pray for this reign of Jesus. So let us indeed pray for this kingdom to come and such blessings to fall, and for all of us to be a part of this, for the glory of Christ and the good of the world.